Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Remember, whenever someone tells you something, makes a claim, makes a statement, there are two things that you have to ask. First, is it true, what the guy said? And the other thing is, how do you know if it's true? That is, provide evidence. And let's analyze the evidence in an objective way. Accept evidence, all the relevant evidence. Don't ignore these ones or those ones just to make a point and make a narrative work. So we have here a statement made by Zelensky, who is in charge of the Ukrainian nation. That's the exact word. Through the power given to him by demos, by the people. But not all the people. Nevertheless, he tells us that the Americans, supposedly Americans, who gave him $61 billion, this is the next tranche of money. More to come. We are not funding war. We are defending democracy. Now, for normal people, like you and I, that sounds very imbecilic, because we know the evidence is contrary to Mr. Zelensky's claim that we are funding democracy, protecting democracy. Obviously, Zelensky refers as Ukraine's democracy. So let's analyze how much democracy Ukraine had and has. Okay? So let me show you first two articles and then a little piece of information. Business Insider. Zelensky says Americans aren't funding war in Ukraine. They are protecting democracy. Now, buddy, hey, weasel, Mofo, hey, I didn't fund you. They funded you, taking my taxes. Got it? They never asked me. So don't thank me. Thank those guys who took my money and gave it to you through the democracy that supposedly I am defending. I don't like this kind of democracy, buddy. I don't like the democracy when the guys that supposedly I am allowed to vote, which I am allowed to vote, but the garbage is left and right. So you have two garbages, and I'm not going to vote for the, the lesser evil. No, I'm going to vote for the good, okay? So don't give me this, well, go and vote, Emil, that's bad, but this is worse. No, I want very good and best and fantastic. Why don't we change this attitude? We're given this, well, baby, be happy, we're not in the ass, you are allowed to vote. Oh, okay, thank you, whenever. And they give us whom? This guy and that guy? Garbage and super garbage? I want perfection and, I don't know, divinity. So this guy tells me that I'm defending democracy, where in my country, a bunch of people over there do what the fuck they want to do because someone voted for them. That's democracy for you. And they can screw up things for what? 4 years at least? How much they want. In 4 years, they can fuck my life and my offspring's lives. How much they want? Or yours. How much they want. What are you going to do? Emil, as I was told in the university in America, work within the system. Like what? Wait 4 years, and when the elections are there, you go and vote them out. Right? No, look at the baboons. The baboons voted a semi-conscious individual, Biden and a lady of the night. What are you talking about? So do you think those guys will see? I mean, they didn't see Biden was not there? I mean, come on. So don't give me the level of the electorate. So this guy says protecting democracy. Let me give you another, maybe let's look into the context, right? Ukraine Zelensky said Americans are not funding war, but protecting democracy with their aid. Zelensky said Ukrainians are fighting so that the US and others don't have to. Once passed by the Senate and signed by Biden, ammo and weapons could reach Ukraine in days. Well, that's already been scheduled. Let me tell you about how fast these weapons come over there. You make an order to Amazon, who has the product right there. It's one product, and it doesn't take 3 minutes. It takes days to be shipped to you. All right, so they just have to pick it. They didn't just have to pick the fucking one product, put it over there, probably scan it through their machines, send it, UPS, Federal Reserve, and FedEx takes it and so on. And it gets, if you pay more, a little bit more, it gets in 2 days. Now this is in the United States of America, all right? Imagine you have to do this in China. It comes in 3 months. Now you say, well, that's not military. But wait a minute. When these guys are voting for something, these guys voted, we're going to send it, those things were not already taken from the shelf and set somewhere on that tamarack, ready to be loaded in the planes, to be shipped over to Ukraine or put on the ships. They were not like that. Because why? They didn't know if that was voted up or down. So they're not going to do it and get ready, correct? They wait and see if it's going to pass or not. Because if they get everything ready, someone pays for that. Who's that? Me, from my taxes. And if that doesn't pass, that means all the work these guys put in was paid by me for nothing. So someone is working with my funds, right? The funding, the democracies, with my funds, and that's stealing. The managers, whomever organized that, out. Diversity, inclusion, whatever garbage. I don't care about that. So again, those things were not taken off the shelf until it was voted. When it was voted, they received the voted up, and that would be not today, it's going to be tomorrow on Tuesday. So they received this little paper and says, okay, now here it is. You guys go and pull out things like 3 Patriot, 50 tanks. Do you think it's going to be like pack, beep, boom, boom, zoom? Do you think that's the way it's going to work? It's going to take time. It's going to take time, signatures, bureaucracy, and then they load the things and then they fly. It's not going to be like this. The flight takes some time, And then they go where? They don't land in Ukraine. They land in Poland. And after they land in Poland, they get them out. And then they put them over here and list. And where they're going to go, bureaucracy. And then they're going to be transferred to Ukraine. And after they transfer to Ukraine, another bureaucracy, unload it. And then there will be, so it's going to take, I would say, at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks if I'm generous with time. At least I'm saying. But nevertheless, maybe they are, Americans and, very efficient. So now let's talk about, I'm sorry. Sorry. Let's go to the second article, which is basically saying the same. This is a garbage thing. They try to make us think as if, they made the baboons realize that in their brains, they all for it, that they are fighting for us. I think they're fighting against us. They're not fighting for our interest. They're fighting for their interest. They don't fight for the America's interest, for the interests that own America. This is it. And our interests don't coincide, I think. More or less, I think in a proportion of 99%, they don't coincide in this case. So no, they're not defending me and my democracy. My democracy, I would do so many changes in our democracy that I don't want this defended. I don't want this. I think this is garbage what's going on here. This is a corrupted way of democracy. Why? How much money you need to run or to win? Tell me one elected official, I'm talking about senators or in the House of Representatives or a US president that did it for free. He didn't need any money, any funding. So he needed that. So he needed, people will give you. What people? Take how much people donated and how much big business donated. So who donated? And then you have primaries, where you have, Miss Brazil gives the answers to Miss Clinton. No? Or what's her name? Schultz. Schultz. Now she's a House of Representatives. Wasn't she the RNG, whatever, the Democratic Party, pop. She's Jewish, but it's okay. I heard her in speaking. She's a bitch. But nevertheless, you can be if you're right. I don't think she was. So give me the democracy here. So they got the right person wherever, then the person who's going to be voted by whom. That's one. And then who owns the mass media? We do. And the mass media will say everything clearly and nicely. We will parrot the same narrative. The owners are, they're in the same team. And these guys send how much money they want in a second, but they don't have money for universal healthcare. Oh, no, we can't have that. Or the infrastructure, or schools, or hospitals, but they shed billions just like this to send it. They don't care of our borders, but they care about the Ukraine's borders. Okay, so I don't need that kind of democracy, where you have a clique over there who does whatever he does. So the same, let's go to this little article here. Zelensky says the US is not funding war in Ukraine. No, it's just funding, how do you call that? summer camp for children to be by Weinstein. So what do we have here? He says we are funding democracy. What democracy? Now, democracy is the will of the people, right? Well, all the people or some people? Well, obviously in a society, it's free and fair elections. So you have to be, elected by, everybody can vote and everybody should vote and so on. Well, we have a 2014 coup. Let's say until 2014, there was a workable kind of democracy in Ukraine, as it's here and it's in democratic countries. You know how they are. So it was workable, but the person who won and the parties who won were not the ones that these guys wanted. Remember, Ukraine was considered, should have been neutral, but NATO wanted it. Well, if you're part of an organization, military organization, that actually is formed and continues to be together against one particular enemy, which in this case is Russia, otherwise they would have admitted Russia, but they didn't. That tells me that's the enemy, one of the reasons. All right, so if you want to take over something that in 1994 it was written down, signed, that Ukraine will be neutral. Well, in 2014, that's changed. Some agencies, foreign agencies, organized together with inside, I would call them traitors, because if you organize a coup in a democratically legitimate elected government and you fuck up democracy, you shouldn't recognize those thugs. But the thugs, if they're our thugs, are not thugs anymore, they're heroes. So they disrupted the course of Ukrainian democracy in 2014. What happened after that? Immediately the coup members were, hey, you're okay, buddy, you're good. Those guys said. The guys who are democratic. And then what they do? Obviously the right person won, as Victoria Nuland wanted, or at least informed us in that phone call with the then US ambassador to Kiev. And then who voted? Not the whole Ukrainians, not the Ukrainians, part of the Ukrainians. Who are those? Who are those? Well, if you want to be elected by the people, you allow all the people. But the people in Donbass, I don't remember voting for them. Why? Because they sent military to fuck them up. Because they said, we don't recognize the coup members. We don't recognize this. This was an illegal takeover of a country. We don't recognize it. You don't recognize it? Yeah, we're going to send the military so you can recognize it. So that's how it happened in 2014. And since then, that country, who in 2008 was told by then George W. Bush in the NATO summit in Romania and Bucharest, one day NATO will incorporate Georgia and Ukraine. And Putin was like, what? Ukraine is neutral, you idiot. No, they had other plans. So there you have it. In 2014, democracy in your country was not respected. Right there. Overthrown, and then elections held. The guys in Donbass don't remember voting, so that means you're illegitimate. Why? You don't have the the legitimacy of the Ukrainian people. And then, okay, move forward. Those guys did not vote, and then you held elections with your people. In the meantime, some parties were banned in the democratic Ukraine by Zelensky, right? Some people arrested. The mass media was taken under the Zelensky's government control. What are you talking about, democracy? And then, by the way, elections. Did you hold elections? You were supposed to hold them. No, they didn't. What does it mean? And your democracy? I mean, how many more examples do you want me to give you? Oh, it's war, and because it's it's martial law instituted by Zelensky because they're under attack, right? They cannot hold elections. It's the Constitution saying. Correct? Correct. Well, remember the U.S. had an election in 1944 during the war against Germany and Italy and Japan and many others. They held elections. Let me show you. 1944 and in 1940. But hey, 1940, right here, 1944. You have it. And you have these guys right here. Dewey and Roosevelt, the communist, and this guy. Okay, he's a communist. He used to call the criminal Georgian communist dictator Stalin Uncle Joe. He did a purge He did the Holodomor together. That's a genocide against the Ukrainian people, conducted by Kaganovich and others, his buddies. Okay, non-Russians. All right, non-Russians, and he was the fourth term. He was elected for the fourth term, and then he died. He just had a stroke with his mistress. It's okay, right? Sometimes that helps. I'm not talking about the stroke. So here you have, this is Mr. Roosevelt, including the powers that tried to get like a communist, like his Uncle Joe. So here you have, he didn't conduct elections, Zelensky, and he has no plan to do it until everything settles down. But I know someone else who ran elections, who conducted, and that's the tyrant Putin. Remember, he allowed the people in Donbass to vote. And they voted under the attacks of the Ukrainians, the NATO, the lovers of democracy. And why do you even bother if these guys don't recognize when you conduct, let's say, elections or referenda? But hey, Kosovo is perfectly A-okay. Why? Because the parliament over there voted independence. Will of the people, what do you want? Everybody should recognize that. But hey, in Crimea, no, niet, no. In Donbass, no. The Constitution. Really? So what democracy? And whose democracy? Did you notice that whenever through democracy, the wrong people, the wrong party win, the lovers, so-called, of democracy are all on them? Look at Mr. Geert Wilders in the Netherlands. He won. Where is he at? He's nowhere. Why? The buttons were pushed. No, don't make an alliance. Don't make Geert. And others. Look how Rishi Sunak was elected as the Prime Minister of Great Britain. Oh, he wasn't? Oh, so you don't elect your Prime Ministers? Oh, my bad. But hey, that's a democracy. The head of the state, the king, unelected. What are you talking about? Foreign Minister, unelected. Defense Minister, unelected. So who the fuck rules? And then you got the House of the Lord, the House of the Lords. That's the one, not the common. That's like garbage. Allow the commoners to. The House of Lords decides what the fuck these guys are. They elected? Were they elected? Yeah, in their little way over there. And that's so-called democracy for you. So don't give me democracy. When these guys win, democracy. When these guys lose, there's no democracy. But since when are you the arbiter? You can have an opinion, as I can. But I have an assessment, they have an opinion. Why? Because they have an agenda, I don't. Well, maybe my agenda will be telling the truth, but their agenda is to do whatever works for their own interest. And their own interest switches according to their own little small garbage interest. Thank you for being with me again today. So yeah, you're not funding a war, you're defending democracy. Thank you very much. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.